Good morning, everybody. Oh, that's so... Could you guys just all take your phones out real quick? Just take your phones out. And just take a picture of somebody near you, maybe a selfie even. Just get it out of your system. To take a picture of somebody, maybe the band. We'll smile on cue if you want us to. Okay, everybody look good. Get your phones out, take a picture. Yeah, get a picture of the audience. Okay, everybody wave. Everybody wave. There we go. See, we're getting... Good. Now, just while you have it out, just go ahead and turn it off. Put it in your back pocket. Just put it in your back pocket. My name's Kevin. These are my friends. I need the city sanctuary rhythm section. If they're in the house, wherever they are, they can come join us at this point in time. We're going to do a couple songs that are their journey. I just want to start off with an apology. Just today, I've been here enough to apologize. Usually I create a worship set for you. I'm thinking about you and your journey and that kind of, but I got selfish this week. I saw who the band was, and I got this worship set's for me. So I hope you can step into my journey just a moment, and if you don't like it, complain to me afterwards. And if you do, I'm pretty sure God's going to show up, and we're going to have fun. Here we go. Ride on the big red bus. Preach it, Chelsea.
Let me ride.
Wanna ride on the big red bus.
Let me ride.
Wanna ride on the big red bus.
Let me ride.
Ride on the big red bus.
Let me ride.
Wanna ride on the big red
Here we go.
bus. Wanna ride on the big red bus.
Ride, ride, ride on the big red. Big finish. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Taylor Kim. Taylor Kim, wave to your fans. Come on. All right, Dave.
There is a place my soul seeks refuge. There is a place my chains release. There is a place my spirit rejoices. There is a place my heart set free. Freedom for those who will listen. Freedom for those who will come. Freedom for those who accept the grace and the love of the Son. There is freedom, freedom. There is a place my eyes have been opened, can be reborn, will be made new. There is a place where love in its longing reaches the heavens to live in the truth. Freedom for those who will listen. Freedom for those who will call. Freedom for those who accept the grace and the love of the Son.
Take to the heartland, take to the hunger, in light and in darkness, tell all that you see. The call of the gracious, benevolent Father echoes through all that we choose to receive, saying, come one and come all who will listen, reach for the cross. Let your fear go and be freedom for those who will listen. Freedom for those who will come.
Thank you. If we weren't in a space in a worship service, I would say we just got taken to church. But we're kind of here, so thank you. It is nice to see the stage full, isn't it? Like really full. ISB, they're like rivaling you on bodies on the stage. And there's Caden with his bass. And none of us can touch that. I'm very biased. Welcome to City Sanctuary. I'm glad you're here today. If you're watching us on live stream, welcome to you as well. If you didn't know we live stream, we do. The weather's getting nicer though, so I feel like the staying home and being in front of a computer part, if you have the option of not, might not be as high. Chris, ignore me, I didn't just downplay that. So a few announcements. I'm gonna do my classic backwards order. So end of the month, we have a potluck. Who loves potluck? I like to eat. We are having a baked potato bar. Where's Linda? There's Linda. So potatoes will be provided. And we want you to bring your favorite topping, side, or dessert. Is that right? So that's right after church. You'll know what you need to help with. It kind of just happens here. So it'll be over on that side, and there'll be baked potatoes, which I'm super excited about. So that's March 30. On March 28, 2 days before, we have our monthly time at the Medallion with the PAX Cow. What does COW stand for? Commodities on Wheels, and what do I call it? There it is. Yes, a movable food pantry. If you haven't seen the PAX Cow, the whole trailer is painted like a cow. So it's very appropriate to call it a movable. Yeah, Soren thinks it's funny. It is funny. So that's on the 28th, 4:15-ish. Patty's nodding. 4:15. If you would like to help with that, Tom White is your point person to talk to about that. I have to look at my list. The brain doesn't work so much right now. I have competition for resources up here. Today is the 16th, and it's our birthday party at the Medallion. So if you have a birthday in March and you want to go help celebrate, Arnold will eat cake with you, right? Will you happily eat cake with them? Happily? He does not like it when I call him out up here. But that's after church, 1:30 today. And then I need 2 people to come hold a shirt for me. Bert, you're sitting right here. Would you mind holding a shirt? Soren, you want to come hold a shirt for me? No? Christy? No? Maybe? Yes? I have a mic. I have a phone. Not enough hands. Yes. So Jim and Linda Ivy have made some sample shirts for us. I know, aren't those nice? So they have our logo, and if you are interested in one, I am told you can pretty much get any size you want. And when I say any size, I mean kids through 5X. Tall, like taller than me tall, all the things. Men's, women's, kids. I'm guessing that's the ladies one, yes. And this is a men's. You can get black printed on gray, or white printed on black in all of those size options, yeah? So the cost is $7.50, which if you know how much a shirt, like you're paying for the shirt cost. Any extras are going to be going towards City Kids, which is very gracious. And we are gonna have more information on the actual logistics of all of that, thank you. So I'll have more for you next week on how we're gonna deal with all the payment side of it. But if you're interested, be thinking, and we'll keep you posted. We'll get something in the update between me and Jim and Linda and Patty. Okay, I think that's all of my announcements. Oh, no, it's not. So the band and I can see on this post, after church, you got to come check this out. We have thermostats on our heaters. That's why it's warmer in here. Of course, it's like going to be 65 degrees today, so you know, but Ben and Chris came down this week and installed them. So we have thermostats, which is super exciting. Thank you, thank you. And Terry, who isn't here today, is the one that got them for us. So very exciting. And I think the plan is they're going to hook it all into like an app so it can be like hot when you get here. Very exciting. So we have thermostats. I'm going through my list. I think that's all of it. Okay. It's back to you guys. You guys are much more exciting than I am. Oh, no, I have one more thing. I'm sorry. So there's a stack of speakers, so most of you can't see what's going on back there. There's an organ. I mean, Bob's amazing, but he's not making all the keys noises. Dave's back there on the organ, so there's an organ. Yep. So thank you, Dave. All right. Thank you, guys.
So the dream for me, we're going to do 4 songs in a worship set. The idea is to take you from the face of God into your heart. And we're going to try to provide the musical background for that, but you have to provide the mindset. You have to open yourself up to that. And so that's the intention. Whatever you do with it is great. We love you no matter what. But that's my intention for this, that you and God get to come face to face in the next 4 songs. And we'll go from there. Hey, does that sound okay? Okay.
I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. You're good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Love so undeniable, I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable, I can hardly think as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still into love. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so good to me.
Let's sing that again.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so good to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves a 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me.
Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, restless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99.
I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still
shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't turn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't turn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways. Join us. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. One more time. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in
when the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come. Longing just to bring something that's of worth that will bless your heart.
I'll bring you more.
I'll bring you more
than a song, for a song in itself
Is not what you have desired.
You search much deeper.
You search much deeper within.
Through the way things appear,
You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus.
it's all about you. King of endless word, no one could express how much you deserve.
Though I'm weak,
Though I'm weak and poor,
all
all I have is yours, every single breath. I'll bring you more.
I'll bring you more than a song,
for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper.
you search much deeper within.
Through the way things appear,
You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus.
peace you lay upon my mind. Let me linger, let me linger, let me linger in the presence of the Lord. Let me linger, linger, let me linger in the presence of the Lord. In the stillness of the morning, as the day breaks, beneath the starry heavens, late at night, every moment that is stolen from the busyness of life is my offering and sweetest sacrifice.
Join us.
Let me linger, let me linger, let me linger in the presence of the Lord. Let me linger, linger, let me linger in the presence of the Lord.
Let me
Linger, let me linger, let me linger in the presence of the Lord. Let me linger, linger, let me linger in the presence of the Lord. Let me linger in the presence of the
Wonderful. It's so Pastor Dan talked to me recently, and he asked me to do this talk this week. So when the coach comes and he says it's the ninth inning and I want you to pitch, do you tell him no? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so the other thing that's a little awkward for me is in order to talk about marriage and relationships, I have to open myself up a little bit. And I hope you won't judge me harshly. Except for Dawn. I expect it. Keep talking to me, Dawn, and then I'll relax eventually here with that. So a couple things I'd like to start out and give you. So what I'm planning to do is just give you some ideas, some things that have happened in my life, and take it or leave it. I realize that here we're so diverse on this subject and in this area that I want to build on what the band did, and that is to point us to Jesus Christ and leave judgment aside. Okay, I'm going to say some things about myself, and that's basically the safest place I can go, I think. So marriage and relationships. So the thing that I would like to say to start out with is to state the obvious, and that's that I recommend it. Okay? Okay, so I just want to get that clear from the beginning here. There's one other thing I think I should tell you, however, is that you should probably limit the field to one. Okay, I'm trying to say some things that hopefully we agree on. You know, polygamy is not legal, even though half the Bible practiced it. You think about that, and the things that the band is saying about the love of God chasing us and things, it's amazing. The other thing I want to say is I'm basically talking to guys. Okay, the gals can listen in. I wouldn't presume to give marriage advice to women. I'll leave that to Pastor Dan. Okay, he's been going for a couple weeks here, so you understand maybe what I'm saying. And the other thing is, I want to tell you is that my wife Linda approved this message. Okay, I just want you to know that Linda approved this message, and hopefully if I don't go off script, then I'll be okay. I may need a ride home with that. Yeah. And some of the things that I've said, that I'm going to say today, has taken me a while to learn. It takes a while for some of us guys to grow up. Amen. It does. And I don't know, gals are much more mature starting out than I've been. Linda and I just remember seeing this gal walking down College Avenue, you know, in about 1972, when was 4? We got married in 76, that I remember. Linda and I decided that we would put our contract on auto-renew. So every year it auto-renews, and we just found it easier that way. Let that sink into you, okay? There are times when we say, oh, this contract thing, it's our anniversary, it's kind of like, no, it's over here, and it auto-renews. I was going to say online, but that doesn't fit with it. So one of the things I want to say, one of the snippets that I want to give to you is that I think relationships and marriage need to be on a spiritual basis. And you're going to say, well, a lot of these things you're going to go, come on, Jim. You ought to know this. But for me, as my personality, I love to think about worldviews. What assumptions and things drive us? As well. And hopefully for us, a Christian worldview is what drives you. For example, I think of the Greeks and the Hebrews. The Hebrews viewed marriage and family and life and work and everything as being done to the glory of God. And the Greeks were more into, well, if it's the city-state, then it's okay. If it's arts and mathematics, it's okay. Otherwise, the rest of it it was more for me. And so some worldviews will say, go into more of the tooth and fang of it all. And you think about this, and many in our culture go down this road. I understand it. But where does that take us in our relationships with people? It's about me. And it's about winning and clawing myself to the top. And if I can get to the top and win, if I can accumulate stuff and gather it to me, it's about me. And how does that work in a marriage and in relationships and friendships? It's devastating. It's devastating. So I think to myself, worldviews are actually very important. And I would encourage you to say, I want to accept a Christian worldview that points something outside of me to something higher than that. And as the band so aptly says, we have a God that's very forgiving that if you've been married as long as I have, you understand the concept of grace. Guys, you understand the concept of grace. You should, anyway. So the other one I want to say is life doesn't center around you. Is that stunning? In our culture, life does not center around you. And so in a relationship, sometimes that you think, well, okay, why is that so difficult? And I'm not like that, fortunately. I don't think like that. Well, let me tell you this one story. Linda and I moved from here with small kids in 1984 to, Linda's nodding her head, so I'm getting my facts correct. It's wonderful to have a fact checker on a subject like this in the audience with you. So we moved from here, basic area, to Minnesota in 1984. We were not going to stay there very long, 2 or 3 years at the most, and then we were going to come back here. We were there 33 years. We raised our family there. That's basically home in many ways. So we moved there in 1984. We were renting a house, and a good friend of mine, he became a good friend of mine, got me interested in playing racquetball. And that's a lot of fun. That's a riot. And I was working out of the house at the time, and more on that later. And so I would come home, and as a good father, I would not play racquetball until after my kids went to bed. I mean, I'd spend some time playing Legos. I mean, that's what dads are supposed to do, and doing with my kids. So I played racquetball 2 or 3 times a week from about 8:30 to 11. Do you see a problem here? Are there any flags going up here? Not yet. Okay. And so I'm back to this concept. Does the world evolve around you, around me? And at one point, Linda had to come up to me and kind of go, "Hey, Jim, hello, hello," you know, and she was absolutely right. And so I had a decision to make, didn't I? I had a decision to make. So that was 84, 5-ish, and I haven't played racquetball since then, to be honest with you. Not that I'm not interested, but I'm saying sometimes we make choices so we can focus on someone else. Someone else in our friendship, our relationship with friends. It's a really odd thing that you have to spend time with a friend in order for them to become a friend. Online friends don't always work super well. I mean, we maintain some friendships online, texting, that sort of a thing, but if you never see them face to face, it's hard for Linda and I because we've been gone from Minnesota now approaching 2 years, and the Facebook, the text messages, the whatever, the phone calls are starting to, not that we're not friends, but we don't see them. We can't focus on them. Okay, shifting gears. The other thing that Linda and I decided we would do would be to make some important decisions together. It's a novel idea. Often we kind of go with the flow. We're reactive. And there were some things, I apologize, I'm pulling the curtain back here a little bit. Be gentle with me. There's some things that Linda and I decided early on when we got married that would be different. I don't know if you've ever said these kinds of things. For us, we had a narcissist that was very close at hand, and we didn't want that to continue in our family tree. And so some of the things that we decided early on, so sometimes major decisions, you need to sit down and talk about and make those decisions early and not be reactive to them, like, now what do we do? The other one was sometimes we wanted parent-child relationships to be healthy. I have 2 boys, and they're still talking to me. Okay? And so sometimes parent-child relationships were important to us. And some things we wanted to do, some things we didn't want to do. So those are one of the things we made as a couple, some decisions together. I heard a sermon one time where the groom was worried that the minister was going to embarrass him. I'm betting that that person has made a priority of not embarrassing his kids. You follow me? Sometimes the way life rolls out for us forms some things in our minds. And is it unhealthy that we sometimes say, you know, I love my mom and dad, but we're not going to do it like that? Is that, I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy. It scares me a little bit because my sons figured out that their parents weren't perfect. Do you remember growing up when you finally figured out that your parents weren't perfect? Yeah. And I still loved them. When you don't have them anymore, then you think about it more. Anyway, so why did I tell you that? I'm getting off track here. Make decisions that are important decisions together. Was all I'm saying. If you have friends that you're going someplace together, make those decisions together. Jim, you're stating the obvious here. This is another one that was interesting for me, and don't give your wife reasons to be jealous. I'm talking to guys here, so hang in there with me. Friendly, yes. You can be friendly, guys, yes. But don't give your wife reasons to be jealous. I want 1,000 friends on Facebook, right? Well, not really. I'd have to quiet 3/4 of them. But sometimes things that I do, or how I would come across, or where I spend my time, Linda and I have to work this out. Am I sending Linda bad signals? I don't want to do that. And so sometimes I don't do things. I limit myself. I limit some stuff that I might normally do for her benefit. I don't want to give Linda reasons to be jealous. Well, it shouldn't be too hard. I'm saying, you should choose your wife over that. It's not too hard because you did that once, right? You chose her. So keep doing that. Anyway. The other one that's interesting, so Linda and I are different in this regard, so that we work together. And this one is a little more important to us on several levels. Don't be competitive. Your wife is not your competitor. Your wife is not your competitor with that. Linda and I do the same thing. I'm going to explain that a little bit more in a second, but we do the same work and we do it together. And her success, I'm just ecstatic for, because it goes into the same checkbook. You get it? And so Linda and I are not competitive in this regards, but I'm not talking just about work. I'm saying in your relationship, do you have to win? Do you have to be the one? I got to put this down. Do you have to be competitive in that regards? Some people are by nature very competitive, and I don't know how they work through this. Linda and I have been working together for about 25 years. That's a little. I don't know how did that happen? I don't know where 25 years came from. Like, boom, for that. What Linda and I do, how we got there, I'll get to, but what Linda and I do are basically rent a rep. Companies that are too small to hire their own sales force will say, can you cover for us, can you promote XYZ in this geography? And we'll give you a commission on that. So the journey that Linda and I have been on for the last 25 years has been straight commission. And I will tell you that we couldn't do that alone. I couldn't do what I have been doing, and Linda as well, couldn't do it alone. Now, I want to say this because this is real to me, is that Linda does not work for me. I don't know how many times my beautiful wife is blonde, and they come up to her and they wonder what kind of work she does for me. That really is annoying. Because Linda does quite well on her own. She has her own accounts. She does quite well on her own. Thank you. Okay? But we've done this back and forth for a long time. I remember watching my own mom and dad come to grips with this dynamic of not being competitive over my lifetime. My dad was a school teacher. My mom was a nurse. And so there was always an interesting dynamic because my mom always made a lot more money than my dad. And yet, my dad taught for the Advent school system, and they had a tendency to move teachers. And so my mom had to start over again on the seniority list at the hospital or wherever she was working, shift-wise, etc. And she seemed they seemed willing to do that. And the older I get, the more amazed I am and appreciative I am of my mom and dad in that regards. Okay, so your spouse is not, your wife, your friend is not your competitor. That's all I'm saying. And take it for what it's worth. Nothing beyond that. Transparency. You knew I would get to this. You know, sometimes, guys, we think that we'll get in less trouble if we just keep quiet. You know? How are things going? And so, if you just keep quiet, it will be better. Well, I want to tell you, over several years it's taken me, it's not better. Because when you finally have to address what you're thinking about or that issue, it's worse. So transparency, Pastor Dan was talking about this too. We as guys aren't always open about what we're thinking. We just aren't always open. Linda tends to think more out loud than I do. Okay? And that has its benefits. That has its benefits. And I'll just say it's never a downside. But guys, at least be transparent about what you're thinking. The other thing about transparency this is something we've worked out, is Linda and I have the same password for our cell phones. She can get into my cell phone anytime she wants. Anytime. And if someone sends a text message to me and she's going, oh, you got a text message from, I'll say, well, why don't you answer it for me? Just let them know it's you. Okay? But here's my phone. I don't want you to worry about what's on my phone, who's texting me, and about what. And she can also get into my computer any old time she wants. And I'll sometimes say, Linda, can you send a text message? Can you send an email from my computer so my name is on it? And because I'm away or doing something, we do this back and forth. But I don't want any hidden areas on my computer, online, etc. Guys, if you know what I'm saying. I'll leave it at that. So transparency is a really important thing. And I think if it wasn't for the ladies in our life, guys, we'd be self-destructive. I fear. So our significant others, our wives, our friends are very good for us in many ways. So there's a collection of 2 or 3 thoughts here that I want to spend a little time with and lump them together. So I'm going to say them. Tough times are best handled together. Tough times are best handled together. Going along with that is what Dan has talked about. A rope of 2 strands is stronger, and work is honorable. Linda and I have made some transitions in our life, okay? Some of our own doing are mine, and some not. So we left college. I decided to teach school for 2 or 3 years. And then I thought, well, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So let's make a career change. So I chose that. But that transition period of letting go of a known and grasping an unknown at this point can be very unsettling. So I ended up selling, I'll say it this way, you'll get it, selling drugs for a pharmaceutical company. Just saying. And did that for 11 or 12 years, okay? And that ended, not of my choosing. Okay, and so there's another transition. How do we were in a house, we've been in a house now for about 1.5 years or 2 years. Have you ever taken out a mortgage on a new home thinking that over time as you get a pay increase, that your mortgage will stay like this? So you tend to, when you're the first year or two in a mortgage, you're kind of going, hopefully that it gets easier as as it goes along. Well, I got laid off. The polite term is fired. Okay, I'll just lay it out. 1.5 years or 2 years into a new house. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. And it was at that point that Linda said, let's do something together. Let's both do something. And so she and I started to do what we're basically doing now together. That was 25 years ago. And so we would not have survived alone. I'll just be real honest with you. We would not have survived alone. And so in that regards, a strand of 2 or whatever is definitely stronger. The other thing that we learned is work is honorable. Do what you do to the glory of God. It's honorable. So at this point in our lives, Linda and I, we're trying to get this business. We say it's our business only because we might have 4 or 5 companies at the time that we were trying to promote for. Door to door. It was stuff medically related, knee braces and stuff like that. Wisconsin and Minnesota, parts of Iowa. Okay? We lived in Minnesota. We lived in Rochester. Linda had an aunt that lived in Janesville, Wisconsin. So she'd go for 4 or 5 days to stay with her aunt in Wisconsin and do stuff out there, come home for the weekend, and I'd go after that maybe down to Des Moines and spend the rest of the week and come home. We might spend some time in around Minneapolis Metro or outstate Minnesota. We had 2 cars, and we'd put 1,000 miles a week, 1,000 miles a month on each car, a week on each car. I mean, we just drove them into the ground. And so how do we keep ourselves in a house with kids? I have 2 sons, in house and home. And this is where I'm going with this. This is why I'm even pulling this curtain back, is because of the concept that work is honorable. So what did Linda and I decided, well, you do what you got to do. How many of you have done job-wise and other things? You do what you got to do, correct? So Linda waited tables for about 4 or 5 years. Okay, and Saturday nights, Sunday nights, overnight. In the town where we lived, there was a couple of places, but she worked at a Perkins because Perkins was open all night and you could work all night. And so Linda worked bar rush in the smoking section because that's where the tips were. And you know what? Making, waiting tables, you make decent money. You do, I'm just saying, you do what you got to do to keep your family and everything together. And was it, work is honorable. I ended up at a grocery store for the first half of this, 3 or 4 or 5 years, stocking shelves, putting food on a shelf overnight. So we'd go to work 10 o'clock Saturday night till 6 Sunday morning, 10 o'clock Sunday night till 6 Monday morning, try to catch up on our sleep, do some work on Monday, and then work all Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, trying to get what we were going to doing. I ended up working at an all-night gas station, convenience store, as a cashier. That's an interesting life. I mean, you do, I'm seriously, I mean, I'm so naive. You know, people, anyway. But you do what you got to do to keep your family and your friends and stuff together, okay? And so, from a Christian point of view, I want to say work is honorable. I don't like to put jobs on different pedestals, etc. It bothers me. Or someone to say, that's beneath me. I mean, they don't say it, but you get that vibe, and I want to go, cut that out. And don't be judging all the time about what people are doing or aren't doing. Please. We can all do, work is honorable. That's all I want to say. And God says, do it to my glory, and go get them. All right? And cut the judgment with that. So that's one of the things that became very important to Linda and I. And you just do what you got to do. Now, yeah, that was I probably said more there than I should have. But I want you to be thinking about that. The other thing is, working, so Linda and I have done the same kind of thing. So it's, in some ways, it's enjoyable because we can talk shop. We do the same kind of thing. But sometimes when I'm goofing off, Linda's kind of going, you know, hey, what are you doing over there? I mean, we share a home office now, so we don't travel as much as we used to. It's more on the phone and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so when one of us is kind of goofing off, the other one kind of keeps us in line. The other thing that's interesting about it is we have ups and downs. Do you ever have days when you just think work is wonderful and days when it's not so wonderful? I mean, it's a bit of a roller coaster, and hopefully for Linda and I, we're on different parts of that spectrum on different days, and so she can reach down and pull me out of a funk. You know, if I lost an account or something I've been working on for a long time went south, etc. With that. I couldn't do that alone. A multi-strand relationship here is stronger than by yourself. You sometimes go out of your comfort zone many times because you have to with that. I got to tell at least one story, and Linda, I'll be real careful here. If you know my wife, she's a wonderful lady. You ought to introduce yourself if you don't know her. She had some business to do in Maryland. We lived in Minnesota. Had never been to Maryland before. I'm talking about Linda. So they wanted her to come to Maryland, out on the Delmarva. That's Maryland, right? I'm just get my geography right here. On the Delmarva. And it was, I don't know, January, February-ish or so. And so I needed to stay home. This was Linda's deal, and they said, well, fly out here and do this. This is the other thing that's I'm glad I'm with someone together on this, because in straight commission you do this on your own dime, hoping you get something back at the other end. And so you're being pushed out of your comfort zone to do stuff. So Linda flew into Baltimore, Reagan, I can't remember, where did you fly into? And rented a car, and there's what's the name of the bridge that goes out to the Delmarva? Chesapeake Bay Bridge. How many of you know the Chesapeake Bay Bridge? It's kind of a long bridge, I'm told. Ruth, is it long? It's miles long, and it tends to move, I'm told. And I've read about it since then. You can pay somebody on one end to drive your car for you to the other side. Okay? And so Linda's renting her car, and she's going, I got to go across this bridge. And I think there was a snow or ice storm or something coming as well, because when she got out to the Delmarva, everything shut down. And then you end up doing things because you have to get together that you wouldn't necessarily do on your own. Like getting up front and doing this, okay? Like getting up front and doing this. I had a conversation with that elder at the time in Rochester. I told him, if being an elder means that you got to get up front, count me out. Count me out. Lest you think that a person was born doing these kinds of things. You end up doing things out of your comfort zone. I digress. So the other thing that I wanted to say, and this is maybe getting towards the end here, is in sickness and in health. I made sort of a flippant comment to Linda when we were first married. I look forward to growing old with you. I said that to you early. Were we married yet? I can't believe I said that. Anyway, I did. And you just don't know what that journey means for us, okay? So Lynn and I both have had health things that have stressed us. I know several of you here as well in that regard. I've shared part of my story. Linda has her own story, and I'll let her tell it. But part of me said, I hope you never experience that sort of a thing. I hope you never have challenges where one or the other of you gets really sick or something happens that puts you at risk. I hope that never happens to you. But part of me then backs up and said, I hope you're stressed in some way. Because it's not until you've been stressed in some of those ways that you realize, that you grow, that you cement your commitment as well with each other. Okay. Yeah, I remember early on, I was talking about committing to each other. You're looking at the classic, I'm afraid to commit guy here. We've been married a long time, but I don't know how we got to the altar. And by that I mean, I remember There's a joke in our family, and it's on me. I like you a lot. I really like you a lot. And I would tell that to Linda a lot. And it really got to annoying her. Do you want to know why? Oh my, yes, it falls short in some significant ways. And here's a guy that just like, I don't want to say love you, because then there's some commitment on my part, and that scares me to death. Scares me to death. And so sometimes I'll get this, I like you a lot. I'll come echoing back to me, even to this day, and I deserve it. But I can't imagine standing here doing this today without Linda, together with that. I can't imagine still being a person of faith without Linda. And wives are such a refining force, keeping us on track, keeping us from being self-destructive. So, love you.
For I know my Redeemer lives,
And in the
and he will stand on the earth. For I know my Redeemer lives,
and in the
and he will reign.
on the earth.
Though my flesh
Have a great Sabbath. Thanks for joining us today.